Hello and welcome, I'm Tafara Gadamu. She once managed her own gallery, the Asni Gallery, but later moved to curating exhibitions, nearly 100 of them thus far. My guest, Konjit Seyoum, joins me to explore the art scene in Ethiopia and how local artists are moving into the international scene. A very warm welcome to the program, Konjit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
You've been running a business that is pretty much into contemporary art of Ethiopia. That was 20 plus years ago. You still are somehow involved, right?
Yeah, I am.
Then you had your own gallery.
Yes. I started in 1996, and it all started because I accidentally found this old house, which once belonged to the nobility, Afenagust Alahon, around the French embassy, which is normally called Faransai Safar. And I was interested in the house. And then when I got it, I was asking myself what I could do with it. In those days, I was simply, I'm a translator and interpreter by profession. So I was thinking like I could have it as my translation office, but it was too big because it was 2 floors and 11 rooms. So I've always liked art. I've always been involved. And then I thought the one thing that was missing at the time, in the 90s in Addis, was a privately owned space that would just do exhibitions and also allow artists, especially the young ones, to experiment, to really focus on their ideas rather than trying to fit in. Because in those days, we had the main players were the international cultural institutes like the Alliance, the Goethe, and the Italian, and then the Russian. And there weren't many exhibitions. By then, when I started,
And peripherally, the Ethiopian National Museum as well.
Yes. And then when I started, we had already St. George Gallery, I think Workus Goshu's Gallery. And I'm trying to remember, there was a woman called Gannet who had started a space near the ex-Yugoslavia embassy. And then there was the Bazart Africa, which was around Rwanda neighborhood. But they were all mixing art and craft. And the traditional and the modern and the contemporary. But what I was really interested, it was really a self-interest thing. What I was really interested in was seeing just exhibitions in a space. And then I was also influenced by what was going on at the time at the Alliance. There was the director called Shampoo, and that was the only place where you could have a glimpse of contemporary art, because every Tuesday he had a new exhibition going on, and he allowed any form of art. And that was the time when the Dimension Group came into the picture. And I was really, really excited about it. So when I found the place, I thought it was ideal to do something like that. But I never called it a gallery for, a few years. It was Johannes Gadamu, when he had his solo show, when he moved back from Germany. He said, I want to have a solo show, but, it's about time you started your space, calling it a gallery. So that's how it all started.
Why did you leave?
I've never left.
Live in a sense, owning a gallery and running it and so on.
I'm very much interested in space. Like I said, this historical house at the time completely run down when people weren't doing anything in an old house. I did that. I turned it into a public space and also experimented with different things, including even food. And even, once a week I used to cook vegetarian, which was not a popular thing at the time. When I left that one, I ended up in the Faransai Park, which was run by the Kabale and then by the sub-city. And again, I experimented.
Used for weddings, for this and that?
Yes, I took that, renovated the whole, put pipes and created a kitchen. and then run it for collective projects. And then I moved into, well, nobody asked me then, like, where are you or what is happening? But for 3 years, I was running a space in a condominium when condominiums were not popular.
Were not fashionable.
That was in Abunna. It had 5 buildings, and I was there, and I rented a studio, and then I rented another one. I was running residency programs locally and internationally, and I was working with the children within the community and inviting artists, and we had all kinds of programs. And then I found this other place, the last one. I'm just following what life gives me.
And then you jumped in.
I jumped in and then ran it for 7 years.
And then left.
Abandoned.
So now, as we speak, there are a number of galleries all over the places in this town. What do you feel about those?
I am very happy, but we need to do more. We need more, and we need more structured spaces. We need to do a lot on art. I'm very happy, especially with the young artists' initiatives, and things have changed. You have the social media, the internet, and all that. There is more access. You don't need a space per se to show your works. If you want, you can even be online and then, even participate internationally without even moving from your studio.
In hindsight, what do you think? Do you feel that you've left a bit too early?
Maybe. Well, the part that I have left is running a business. I never wanted to be a business, and I never ran it like a full business. That was the problem, because there is also the creative side of it. Curating is fantastic, and playing with the space is magical. And then, even when I had the galleries, the spaces, I even curated exhibition outside, like in like the St. George beer workers, club, or other places like the Lafto Mall when it was being built, when it was still under construction. I had a huge show of 13 solo shows and 1 group show, including, using the cinemas that didn't even have a floor. So I've always been interested in space. And there was a time when I had a space between mobile shop and socks and things they were selling in Getu building, when Getu was the only building on that road. So I've always experimented with spaces. The part that I wasn't very much interested in was running a whole business. And also because I also do my own art, and I also still, deal with languages and all that. So if I left the space, personally, I never feel like I've left something. I've left the business part of it.
But you've been curating so many shows, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about those. How do you pick a show that you want to curate?
You see, the fact that I started very young without knowing what I was doing and what I was getting into has helped me to learn on the job. And for me, it's the art first, not the artist. If the art speaks to me, then
it makes that connection.
Yeah.
With the work of art.
Yeah.
And then you decide this is something that I should
work with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many shows over the last several years have you done?
I've curated over 100 exhibitions.
It's amazing. But recently, in the last 15 years, you've largely been interested in curating, right? Because the business part of that of your interventions are all gone, right?
Yeah, it's not 15 years. I stopped in 2018.
2000 is only recently, okay.
Yeah, because, rent is expensive.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And then also the rules and regulations, business rules and regulations apply to everyone it doesn't, there is no special rules for
art and so on.
For art and so on. So, you're the same when you go to the tax office and everything. And then if you have all tourists coming and all that, everybody feels like you're making a lot of money. I've never made money through my art gallery. I worked as a conference interpreter, and subsidized everything. And then the main point for me was, from day one when I got into this, call it a project, personal project, was the challenge with myself to run a space without any funds, sponsorships, without any promoting any kind of product, whether it's Coca-Cola or Johnny Walker or Nestle at the time, or look for funds, write proposals. I just wanted to see, and I was running everything with a very low budget, but just happened that ASNI stayed so long that it became a name.
But you still are curating now as we speak. There is one running at the Gebre Christos Desta, the center here in town.
Yeah, it's David Gerasu. He graduated, I think, in 2000 or 2001. And he's a multidisciplinary artist. Meaning he works with photography, he works with painting, he works with installation, and his works are, even when they're paintings, they are idea-based. And right now what makes it interesting, this exhibition which he has entitled Ahun, he's trying to look into... Yeah. He's trying to look into identity, history, economics, politics, and issues around them by taking images, public images from the Derg period, like Lenin's and Marx and Engels. And if you asked him, then he would say, those are the images I grew up with, the public images in public spaces. So he's exploring through the depictions of those images, what life was like. At the same time, within this exhibition, you also have topics that that deal with consumerism, capitalism, and he's trying to go between ideology and consumerism.
So how is he viewed? How is he received?
It's interesting, and technically he's very good, and his decisions also to utilize in terms of scale and volume of the images and the kind of colors he uses and the symbolism of each and every painting. That's very interesting, and you can see that he's got experience. And then in terms of his ideas, also, it's more for generating a conversation around what we see on daily basis as public images and what language we're using through these things. So yeah, it is well received. And on Friday he has a public talk, which will be organized in collaboration with the IES, because they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the revolution.
Ethiopians are making their presence felt outside of Ethiopia, correct?
Yes.
And 2 years ago, you were a member of the jury that awarded an Ethiopian artist in Dakar, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The Dakar Biennale takes place every 2 years, and the first one was in the early 90s, and it was Zarihun Etemgeta who participated and won the award. So it started with an Ethiopian. And in between, we've had other artists who participated, like Mulugeta Tafesa, who lives in Antwerp. We've had, from Zoma, Elias Sime. We've had Asafa Gebrekidan, and we've had the late, our friend Mulugeta Gebrekidan, who passed away last year. And then 2 years ago, it was Tegane. Participated. He's based in Berlin and works with abstract art. And he happened to be winning the award. And I was part of the international jury.
So what you're saying is that the spaces are there if Ethiopian artists want to use them?
Well, nowadays, yes, it's much easier. It's not like in my days when I ran the gallery, like you had to go through gallerists, or for information you had to wait for the Newsweek to come, or art magazines, or the TV programs, or radio programs. It's information is everywhere.
And there Ethiopians are exhibiting in various galleries in Europe and North America, including in Africa, right?
Yeah.
What does that tell you? I mean, are we late into getting into this?
No, we're not late. This is the right time, and we're using it, but we haven't used it enough. But we're not late, and we also have to remember that what the international art scene meant and who governed it. And it's when the West opened up for African art that this could happen. And for that to happen, there are those who worked hard, like Okuyen Wizor or Simone Njami and others from America and Europe, who put the African art, including the diaspora African art, on the map.
So, locally speaking, do you think that Ethiopian artists are encouraged? When I say encouraged, I mean, do we have enough patrons, business people who provide the space? Are there people who buy works of art in Ethiopia? Do we have enough critics? Do you have a state, a government operating at that level? So I'm trying to see the atmosphere, the situation within which Ethiopian artists are working.
I like these questions because I can answer straightforward, or I can start thinking like, how many Ethiopians are we in Ethiopia? 100 million, more?
120, they say.
And it's a vast country with different regions. If you think of it like that, then there is nothing that is happening, because everything is concentrated in Addis, and even within Addis, it's not even a 1% of the Addis population that is engaged in doing art or selling art or distributing art, or So that's one way of seeing it. The other way is, in order for it to flourish, you have to have art schools, not just in Addis, but every region, at least one. It should have, it has university. One faculty should be art faculty. And then even in Addis, we only, ever since the art school in the 2000s became part of the university, we started having feeder schools like Tafari Makonnen that came later, Shatu Turuna School and Abyssinia School. This is how it is. So we're not really catering yet. And then in terms of collectors, buyers, even during the Haile Selassie period, there were collectors. In fact, the exhibition I did, that was called Fasika. I don't know if do you remember?
Do you remember that one?
Yeah. All the works came from different collectors, and especially when I organized Skundar Bogosian's exhibition in 2001. All of them came from collectors from the time of the imperial period. And then during the EPRDF period also, we've had many new collectors who have come, Ethiopian collectors. And then now there are more also, even very young ones who've got money who are collecting, but it's never enough. And then you're talking about art critic. Well, then again, you go back to the school, and then maybe we need to also have that field. Of course, they come out also with art history and all, but there isn't enough. And then which language? It's usually our journalists, our reporters who are always covering art events and maybe focus on only certain things. So, yeah, we need to build up on that. And in terms of spaces, we want even the government institutions to play more active role in expanding this, now that we have more possibilities.
Konjit, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure having you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.